forward this morning about a plane.
They were orbiting 200 miles above Earth when it happened.
It started as a glitch, an object flickering on orbital sensors where nothing human should exist. When astronauts looked closer, they saw it, a plane moving just below them at the edge of space. To understand what they saw, you have to go back 3 decades. Mysterious craft. In May 1960, an American U-2 spy plane was blasted from the sky over Soviet territory, igniting a Cold War scandal and exposing vulnerabilities in U.S. reconnaissance capabilities. The U-2, once the pinnacle of spy technology, was suddenly obsolete. It was too slow, too visible, too vulnerable. From the ashes of that diplomatic embarrassment, something extraordinary was born. The CIA approached Lockheed's legendary designer, Kelly Johnson, with a chilling request. Build us a plane so fast, so high, and so advanced that no missile can touch it, and make it invisible. Johnson didn't blink. He called in his elite Skunk Works team to develop a machine that defied known engineering. On a blackboard in a locked Burbank conference room, he sketched its image, a needle-shaped beast with sharp Chinese and shark-like intakes. One engineer murmured, "That's impossible." "Good," Johnson grinned. To withstand the blistering heat generated at Mach 3+, aluminum and steel were discarded. Only titanium could survive, but titanium was mostly sourced from the USSR, so the CIA bought it using fake companies, getting Russian metal to build a plane that would spy on Russia. The team faced constant setbacks. Titanium shattered tooling, corroded with chlorine, and required entirely new welding techniques. 80% of the early materials were unusable. Yet, inch by inch, failure by failure, they advanced. The result became the A-12, the prototype of what would evolve into something even more advanced, the SR-71 Blackbird. Stealthy, futuristic, and fast enough to outrun gravity itself. Orbiting anomaly. April 1986. Over the simmering Libyan desert, the Blackbird returned to the spotlight. Pilots Brian Schul and Walt Watson were executing a bombing damage assessment following a U.S. raid on Gaddafi's military compounds. But as they screamed over enemy territory at 80,000 feet, missile lock warnings lit up their cockpit. "Missile launch signals," Watson called out. Below, Libyan surface-to-air missile, SAM sites had launched interceptors, some capable of Mach 5 speeds, straight at them. Most pilots would have turned. Schul did the opposite. He pushed the throttles forward, diving deeper into the jet's power. The J-58 engines roared. In afterburner, each could generate the thrust of 40 locomotives. The Mach number climbed 3.3, 3.4, 3.5. The atmosphere around them began to unravel. The sky transitioned from deep blue to black. Stars shimmered overhead. In the middle of the day. Below, the Earth curved. At this speed and altitude, the Blackbird began behaving less like a plane and more like a spacecraft. Standard wings and control surfaces had little effect. The pressure suit-clad pilots relied on stabilization systems and subtle motions. Even the engines had started operating outside traditional jet parameters. Air was too thin for normal combustion, so fuel injection and airflow had to be balanced with surgical precision. Somewhere just above them, aboard a space shuttle orbiting the planet, astronauts reported a bizarre occurrence, a fast-moving object, too fast for conventional aircraft, too low for satellites, flashed into view, cutting a contrail through near space. Confused, they alerted mission control. "There's a plane in space." It wasn't science fiction, it was the SR-71 Blackbird, and at that moment, nothing on Earth or above it could catch them. Astronaut investigation. Orbiting more than 200 miles above Earth's surface, astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger were keeping routine watch on instruments and Earth below when one of them caught sudden motion on the horizon. A burning streak, too fast, too smooth to be a meteor. What concerned them was its altitude. It looked like a jet, but it was far too high. "We just saw something," the crew radioed to Houston. "A fast mover, lower than us, but higher than anything should be." Mission controllers were intrigued. Satellite? Re-entry debris? One of theirs? No records matched. Days later, they got their answer through back channels. It was no meteor, no satellite fragment. The silhouette glimpsed by astronauts flying in the void had been the SR-71 in full sprint over North Africa. Schul and Watson had inadvertently punched into an altitude regime so rare it intersected the orbital sensors of spacecraft. After returning from that mission, their aircraft showed heat discolorations scientists couldn't explain. Titanium stressed to its molecular limit. The cameras still worked, capturing razor-sharp images from their flight. But analysts found strange trails in the photos. Solid vertical bands of smoke at absurd altitudes. They were the vapor trails of the Libyan missiles, plunging far below the flight path of the SR-71. The astronauts were stunned to learn they had witnessed a functioning aircraft, piloted no less, surfing the very edge of their world. From space, they had seen the impossible, a manned machine living where satellites tread. Scientific implications. The SR-71 was more than fast. It was a deep space physics lesson wrapped in matte black metal. Everything about it, material, shape, engines, pushed technical norms beyond the brink. Take titanium. It's notoriously difficult to shape, weld, and stress. Engineers had to invent novel fabrication techniques, even using distilled water during manufacturing to avoid mineral contamination. Welds had to be flawless. Corrosion or fractures meant catastrophic failure at altitude. The airframe operated at skin temperatures over 600 degrees Celsius, causing panels to expand mid-flight. Gaps in the fuselage leaked fuel on the tarmac, but sealed shut when heated in the air. The J-58 engines weren't just turbojets. They were the first rated for continuous afterburner use. At Mach 3, they transitioned to operating more like ramjets, using complex spike inlets and bypass systems to optimize airflow. Rather than cool air down, the SR-71 embraced heat, using it to push performance. Every spike movement, nozzle array, and fuel ratio was calculated for an environment bordering space. Then there was the cockpit. Pressurized and climate-controlled, yes, but incapable of saving a pilot if it depressurized at altitude. Enter the suits, full-blown astronaut-style pressure garments, supplying both oxygen and temperature regulation. Pilots trained relentlessly for ejections, which would hurl them from near space down to breathable altitudes in seconds. Even the airframe design broke ground. Its sharp Chinese weren't originally meant for lift, but testing revealed unexpectedly effective surface vortices. These turned into stabilizing and lift-generating features, redefining high-speed aerodynamics. Today, derivatives of these designs appear on hypersonic test vehicles and stealth bombers. Modern aerospace research still leans on what the Blackbird taught them. When engineers today design scramjets, high-altitude drones, and near-space aircraft, they still whisper its name. SR-71 wasn't an endpoint, it was a beginning. Public reaction. The world never really saw the SR-71 clearly, and that's how the US government liked it. From its inception, the Blackbird was draped in secrecy. Missions were redacted, photos classified, operations attributed to unidentified aerial objects. Pilots didn't talk, engineers vanished into hangars, and sightings were denied with practiced shrugs. But every now and then, the cloak slipped, a sonic boom over the East Coast, a shadow racing over the Aleutians, or reports from commercial pilots. Black Dart just passed us, no transponder ID. Enthusiasts pieced together fragmented data points. Aviation magazines speculated. Pilots whispered stories of flight levels above 80,000 feet, and air traffic control audios hinted at aircraft moving too fast for radar to track. And then came the Libya mission. Though officially denied, the echoes of that day leaked. Testimony surfaced. Rumors swelled. When astronauts themselves admitted they'd seen something whiz by below them at altitudes impossible for any known military craft, the story couldn't stay secret. The public responded not with fear, but awe. The SR-71 achieved legend status. Model kits sold out. Flight simulations tried and failed to replicate its handling. School children wrote essays about it. At air shows, Blackbird pilots became humble rock stars. And when the Air Force retired her in 1999, mourners gathered at bases to witness the final landings like it was a funeral. No other aircraft has captured the imagination quite like it. A plane that could outfly bullets, orbit the edge of space, cross continents in an hour, and vanish in a puff of contrail. The plane in space wasn't a myth. It was real, just rare enough to seem unreal. The SR-71 Blackbird wasn't built for comfort. It wasn't built to land gracefully. It was built to escape anything, to outrun history itself. If you'd trust your life to a jet that crosses from sky into space, tell us why in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next flight.